EA Games.
Challenge everything.
There! Welcome to SimCity 4 Deluxe Edition! Before I begin, a quick word to the wise. If you're going to play this on modern computers, especially if you've got ATI cards like I do, you want to make sure that you set renderer to software, because if you have it on hardware, then things will disappear when you scroll the edges. Alright? Alright, just want to get that out of the way. Now, let's begin. This game really brings down the scale. SimCity 3000 had an enormous scale. I mean, huge. If you've seen my Let's Play of it, at a certain point, after a few hours, I'm just like, okay, well, I could keep building for another 3 hours, but I think I've shown enough. So I just kind of have to end it abruptly because it's like, well, it would take forever to film the region and to really build the city to its max. Well, in comparison, this one brings the scale way back because you've got this whole region here, but each of these little blocks that you build a city into are really not all that big. These small ones, in fact, are pretty tiny. You can have maybe a few farms and just a little bit of town, and there's really not much room for much else. So we're going to build in one of these medium-sized tiles. Other regions have large-sized tiles, which are like, I think that they're the size of like 4 medium tiles. Those would be decent size. Those would be pretty big, but most regions don't have that. Now, since this game works with regions instead of individual cities so much, each of these regions need to be constructed, either downloaded pre-made or constructed by hand to have all these cities fit together. And unfortunately, as far as I know, there is no region editor. So if you want to make a region, like let's say we want to make a little river from here that comes through and then joins this one right here. Well, we'd have to enter this city, make a river, enter this city, tell it to make the edges fit its neighbors, which will make a little bit of water at the edge where it touches this one. Then we bring it over, then we continue that for all 3 of these other regions, or cities rather, until it finally meets the river in this area. It's very annoying, very annoying. Let me tell you. Let me show you what some of the other regions look like. We're at Timbuktu right now. That's where the game starts you. It's the starting region. We've got Berlin. You may see a problem with some of these though. This region looks boring as hell. It's got a nice big area for city here, but look how boring it looks. There's no elevation. How about Fairview? This one's alright. But it's very small. So you've got all these small areas and then a few bigger ones, but overall this region is pretty tiny. How about London? Again, very boring. Very boring. What do we got now? New York. This is a little elevation here, but it's still kind of boring. Now, each region is supposed to, I guess, represent a metropolis. And each of these small cities are like the towns and cities that make it up. So ideally, you'd have cities in each of these blocks, and they'd all be connected, and the whole region would be working together to kind of create a megalopolis. But that would take forever, and screw that, really. This is what a blank region looks like. Boring? You bet your ass. I wanted to, I guess I could enter one of these and just kind of randomize it so that we've got some terrain and some variety and stuff, and it's not just flat, boring green. But then if we zoom down and look at the region, we've got one block that's got these mountains and rivers and all this stuff in it, and everything around it is just blank. I don't really like that. San Francisco's got some nice variety here. Huh. You know what? I think I'm gonna start in San Francisco. Start with this big one right here. Let's begin. This is the new location of Doucheville. As you can see, this is the God mode that you get before you begin the actual city design part of the game. Look at all those trees. Oh, what was this? Some wild elk. Or deer or something. And they make horse sounds. Oh no, there's a horse. A wild horse. That's cool, right? Yeah. I like some of the things that this game did. I like the way that it brought in... Well, I guess I'll show you that in a bit. I have to say though, it probably has the weakest intro video between this one and SimCity 3000. The intro video for this one just isn't very impressive. Oh, I can actually put down animals. What's this, a hippopotamus? No, a rhinoceros? Is that what that is? Or, oh, wild animals, okay. So woodland animals and wild animals. Look at that. Wild animals indeed. There's suddenly elephants and giraffes and hippopotami all loose in the San Francisco area. And bears? Bears, I'm pretty sure don't live in the same region as elephants and the like. What do all these animals do? Really, as far as I know, they don't really do much. They just kind of vanish once the city appears. I guess they migrate out of the area and then they're gone. But it's cool that they're there. I approve of that. It's neat that they took that step to add them. For that, you see. Hopefully that doesn't lag on my computer as I'm trying to record. If you get some terrain effects, you can just kind of erode things or do general all-around changes that aren't individual like these. Here you specifically say where you want it to raise or lower and how you want it to be raised or lowered. Let's say we want a little canyon here. Not sure why we would, but say we do. See, that's pretty cool. Or a crater. Huh. I like that. But that'd be pretty annoying if we're trying to build a city around it, so I'm not really gonna bother with too much of that kind of stuff. Anyway, I think we should just begin, shall we? This is the reconcile edges. Reconcile. This is what makes the boundaries match the neighboring cities. You can even switch whether it's day or night. I think that 3000 didn't really have much of a day or night cycle, but 4 introduces that. It's pretty nice. Let's just begin. Doucheville. Uneasy, as usual. I'm Cyberg, also known as cerebral stasis, but cerebral stasis does not sound very good when you say it out loud, so Cyberg just sounds better, even if it still sounds kind of silly. Easy, as always. Let's go. Whoop. Fireworks. Careful, bro, you're gonna start the forest on fire. That wouldn't be good. Especially with how much forest there is. Let's begin near the water. Now, one thing that kind of sucks about this game, though, is that in SimCity 3000, when you made a city, it would automatically give you 4 neighbors. It would just kind of generate 4 neighboring cities, and they'd grow along with you. So if you put a connection to any of the 4 edges, you'd automatically have cities there that you could connect to and like sell power to or buy power from or whatever. While in this one, you have to literally have cities connected to the edges. So if you want neighbors, you have to make them yourself, and that kind of sucks, to be honest. Because there's just so much more effort just to get things working in general. is that... Okay, there's llamas, I guess. Are these not wild animals? I guess that's a deer. Well, Maxis does love their llamas. Alright, let's begin with... some agricultural zones. See, they've entirely cut out low density industrial and just made it agricultural, and I like that. I like that. Also, as you can see, it'll automatically put in some roads for you. That's pretty cool too. Just saves you some more time, so you're sure that you never make things too big to work correctly, and you don't have to stop to add roads yourself, and it's nice. I like that change. Some might say it's dumbed down, but it's not really, because you can hold shift and it'll just make a big region. Or you can hold control, I guess it'll do the same thing in this case, or alt. Some of those buttons will change the way that the streets are laid out if you experiment with them a bit. Should be a good way to start. For some reason, agriculture creates a lot of pollution. I guess it must mean the only way this game really has pollution is in the form of air pollution, I think. But that's kind of funny, because I don't think that a field would create air pollution. It might create like runoff of fertilizer and stuff, but that's not exactly the same thing. So we've got a few different kinds of roads. I like that as well. Streets are the cheapest, but they can't hold as much traffic. Then there's roads. Then one-way roads. You can kind of have one-way road going one way and one the other way, and you can kind of create a little highway. Or you can create an avenue, which is kind of between a road and a highway. And you've got highways, which is its own whole segment. I've barely ever used highways, because I don't really get cities that big. And you can usually manage with just roads and streets. Alright. Let's begin right here, shall we? Low density. Now, the densities in this case actually affect what will be built on them. So, if you've got a really rich city in a high desired zone, and it's low density, then you'll get like big sprawling manors with huge lawns and stuff. Well, a high density residential would create a tall high rise with like a condo or something. So all zones are decent at different times, and they all make different desirable results. While in previous games, I never really understood the difference between them, really. Except for the fact that low density kind of forced... It never allowed the buildings on it to get very good. Well, you can certainly well have high wealth houses in a low density zone. Let's create some low density areas. So here we go, I can hold shift and see it just kind of tries to reconcile them on its own, or this is control or alt, changes the way it's done. I think I'll just go with this. There. See? Simple. A lot simpler anyway. Some more street here. Not as clear on what the difference is with commercial though. I guess we'll find out. I want to go the same direction, so I'm holding alt for that one. So that's probably way too much commercial. Let me replace it with some more residential. There we go. And I also like how the residential lots can clearly be seen. So either the lot will fill up these 3 squares, or it'll take 2 or even 3 of the nearby regions. Like if it was a condo, it'd probably have these 9 squares. But at least you're not guessing as to where buildings will be put. And it clearly points to the street that it's connected to. So that way you know whether or not an area is connected to a street. While in previous games, they were just big green blocks and you had no clue either way. Let's see what we got for power. Now, one thing I don't like so much here is that they took out the feature where time is progressing. So you start in 2000 and you just get everything right away, basically. Hydrogen power plants, nuclear power plants, solar power plants, those aren't available to us, and it doesn't matter what time it goes to. We'll never get them unless we fulfill those requirements. So we need a high wealth residential population and a certain mayor rating. The mayor rating won't be a big deal because we'll find a way to get around that easily later, but yeah, I don't know. I wish that it went back to just these things unlocking over time, although I suppose this way forces you to progress the city more, rather than having a little crap hole of a dirty town with a big fancy fusion power reactor in the center of it or something, right? Whatever. Also, these planets have monthly costs. There's a lot more monthly costs, so that makes this game a lot harder in a lot of ways. Because it's much easier to run out of money from monthly deficits. You have to build fast and be ready, or else you'll quickly run out of money, and that kind of sucks. See, I'll go with natural gas, put it right here. Surrounded with some streets. Come on. Here we are. Alright, I guess I can put some high-density industrial around it since it's going to be a smoggy area anyway. That streets are kind of a mess there. Oh well, the Sims will figure it out. Want some more residential areas? I guess here. You can also notice that the game starts you out with a lot more money than previous ones. I believe that 3,000 started you out with 50,000. Now we got 500,000. Look at that mess of streets. Ugh. Oh well. It'll be alright. There. What a chaotic mess. It's like London or something. Make these high density, why not? Connect that street there. There we go. Now when you zoom in, you'll be able to see cars moving around and people walking along the sidewalks. It'll be pretty cool once we get a population going. Obviously we're not to that point yet. Still in pause mode. Some more. Come on. Now, another kind of amusing thing is, while this game has advisors just like 2000, or just like SimCity 3000 does, instead of the advisors having cool portraits that are kind of drawn or anything, instead our advisors, if I can find them, where are they? Oh, they're here somewhere. Huh. Let's see. Not finding them. But anyway, the advisors just look like Sims from The Sims. Kind of like that. You can also create Sims here. Deuce Flyer? Oh my god, I have to keep that name. Deuce Flyer. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm not sure if they realized what they were saying with that. Now, if we create this sim, we say move in sim, and if we had a house, we could move him into a house and then kind of consult him to find out what he thinks. We'll do that in a bit, though. I still need water. Now here, they mercifully got rid of the SimCity 3000 thing where water pumps have to be near the water. Oh, I'm so glad for that. Now everything pumps from an aquifer, which, in other words, it doesn't matter where you put it. It'll work wherever. But water pumps are just bigger, more expensive versions of water towers. So to start out with, we'll just have water towers. We also want to keep water towers away from industrial areas because if the pollution's too high, a water tower will be closed down for water pollution. Which sucks. Just like SimCity 3000, the water kind of is in a area effect. No complaints there. And just like then, I make a big mess of my water pipes. So I just don't care, really. Just go out there. They're not too expensive, at least not when you got this much money. I've already spent about 100,000. I'm sure that that's pretty unrealistic compared to how much building a real city would cost, but whatever. Whatever. Adjusted for inflation, let's say. Alright, let's see what happens.
EA Games.
Challenge everything.
This game really brings down the scale. SimCity 3000 had an enormous scale. I mean, huge. If you've seen my Let's Play of it, at a certain point, after a few hours, I'm just like, okay, well, I could keep building for another 3 hours, but I think I've shown enough. So I just kind of have to end it abruptly because it's like, well, it would take forever to film the SimCity 4 Deluxe Edition. Before I begin, a quick word to the wise. If you're going to play this on modern computers, especially if you've got ATI cards like I do, you want to make sure that you set renderer to software, because if you have it on hardware, then things will disappear when you scroll the edges. Alright? Alright, just want to get that out of the way. Now, let's begin. There! Welcome to the region and to really build the city to its max. Well, in comparison, this one brings the scale way back because you've got this whole region here, but each of these little blocks that you build a city into are really not all that big. These small ones, in fact, are pretty tiny. You can have maybe a few farms and just a little bit of town, and there's really